Stop the cap.
Okay, so here's the question. Um, this video is not about judging. It's not about overlooking what the argument is going to be on the other side, because there's arguments to be made on both sides. I already acknowledged that. Maybe I'll touch on that a little bit in this video. This video is not meant to be long. I just want people to write whatever they're going to write in the comment section and break this down. Tell me where I'm off, because most of this is coming from, um, feminist thought. I'm not even going to say black feminist thought, because I've seen white women engage in this, the same topic whenever I enter their spaces. Okay, so the idea is that we're in 2025, and we're in 2025. Women don't need men anymore because women are making their own money. Again, that's the argument that they're making. The women are doing better than men. That's what they want to say. Even though I can point to areas where that's not true, but screw it. We'll go with that. Okay, women are doing better than men, especially in the under 30 crowd. I don't know how any of this would be sustainable, because women don't build or maintain the physical infrastructure of society. But again, women, they think that whatever jobs and careers that they have will go off into perpetuity, because, society is already built and doesn't have to be maintained. So they will always have their jobs, and they will always have their careers, and they will always be killing it. And the men, they need to man up, which doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me, because when men were ahead and women were quote unquote beneath them, that was a problem, because that was the evil patriarchy. So women caught up to men via feminism and some societal changes, and now women are ahead of men, and now the women are saying that the men need to man up. And I'm like, man up to what level? Right? Like, man up to what level? And let me not even get stuck into that, right? Because the idea is that you need to man up to a level of equality, while we're going to ignore the fact that even women that have their own careers and make their own money still want to date above their level. They don't just want the quote unquote bare minimum of men that would be labeled their equivalent. So saying that men need to match your level isn't you really being honest, because we all know the vast majority of you want to date up, and many of you want men to, basically give you the benefits of patriarchy devoid of male leadership. We understand that. I've talked about that numerous times. Um, but I never understood that part about men manning up, which would only bring back the patriarchy that the women fought, against, right? Because they don't really want the men to stop at equality with women. They want men to provide more than what women can provide for themselves, but not come with the arrogance and the rules, regulations, and structure of patriarchy, where the man is elevated over the woman. All right. Okay. So the argument now is that since women don't need men, that women can go out here and they can get with the men that they want to get with, as opposed to the priority being men getting with the women that the men want to get with, right? So women have more sexual and reproductive freedom, right? Even though that's kind of weird, because you talk to women, they don't want to ask for first dates. They don't want to approach. They don't want to ask for a man for the hand in marriage. So everything is on the man doing the initial approaching, but somehow women are supposed to get what they want by, I don't know, standing in the corner and batting their eyelashes. I don't know how that's going to work when men are still expected to be the ones that do all the approaching. But, again, according to these women, They are somehow magically able to go out here and get the men that they desire, even though they're not doing any of the approaching or any of the initiating. They're able to get these guys that are six figures, six pack, 6 feet tall, and all that, right? Those are the only minority of men that they want to focus on. The other thing is that women in the past had to settle for men that they didn't particularly care for out of necessity, and now they get to pursue men that um, not only are they physically attracted to, but the idea that men need to come with more than just material resources that they have to offer. Again, even though women still argue that they want to date hypergamously, but moving past that, the men have to come with more, game, swag, charisma, and personality, and all the things that women claim that they like, and kind of have like this on and off switch when it comes to masculinity, where, I want him to be masculine and violent and aggressive when I want him to be, but not when I don't want him to be. Right. And he most certainly will never be aggressive and violent towards me. But if anybody, disrespects my honor, I want him to rip their fucking head off, because that makes me wet and hot and bothered, and that turns me on. But any other time, I want him to open up, and I want him to basically act like my girlfriend or be a gay guy friend, and, express his feelings and excuse me, let me express my feelings to him, because I don't really want him expressing his feelings, because if he expresses his feelings and he demonstrates that he's a little bit too vulnerable, then my pussy will dry right up, because men and vulnerability gives me the ick. So therefore, I'm not really into that. So yes, men need to change their behavior to be more personable and cater to women's feelings, and have an on-off switch when it comes to aggression and hypermasculinity. And that's what we want as women. Okay. All right. Moving on past that, the other thing is, if women are out here getting with all of the, the sex gods, if they're getting out here, the mandingo, the guy that looks good, the guys that, mind you, they have tons of options, because 90% of women want this top 20% of dudes or less. So they have no incentive to settle down, because they can just run through a bunch of bitches, which again is the argument that women make against men, that all men are dogs, when women are only giving like the top 20 to 10% of men all the pussy in the world. So the men are dogs because those are the men that have the most options. Okay, fine. That's who you're getting with. You're going to bitch about men cheating, all that other stuff. But in this world where men magically don't cheat because, they have the personalities that women desire, which you have, again, not enough men to go around. All the other men are invisible. Okay. And the fact that women don't build or maintain the physical infrastructure of society, and since magically the world is already built and we move past that, because apparently the world doesn't need to be maintained. So women are getting with guys that have the looks and the personality that they want, because equality, and that's what's important now. How does society move? How do the buildings stay up? How does the light stay on? How does the electricity stay? Like, who's doing any of that stuff? What do you think? You're gonna get the bitchless dudes to do all that stuff? Why should they do all that? Oh, I know. They should do it out of the goodness of their heart. I'm hearing this time and time again. Men should have different motivations other than women and children and family. And so I guess we're gonna have this world where, you know, 90% of women fight over 15% of the dudes, and the other 85% of men are invisible, and somehow society is going to be maintained. It's almost like the issue that you have with Donald Trump and the whole, the Mexicans are a problem. We don't like the Mexicans, but then the Mexicans, we're going to deport them, but then they're the reason why You know, certain things are affordable because they act as cheap labor. They're the ones that pick all the fruit. They're the ones that wash all the dishes. You know, they're again, just go watch the movie A Day Without Mexicans, and that pretty much sums it up. But I'm just saying, right? So it's like, how does any of this get done? It's kind of like people are caught up in, or I should say women specifically in this regard, like caught up with things ideologically, but not, practically. And, the whole concept of that men get to pursue the women that sexually satisfy them, but the women don't get to pursue the men that sexually satisfy them, which is kind of weird. And I feel like is an equality argument that goes nowhere because, I'm not, obviously women are attracted to attractive men, but women have other criteria that men don't necessarily have when it comes to the other factors that they bring into into this space. This is part of the problem with social media because you don't get this sort of interactions that you get in third spaces, like bars and parks and stuff like that. I've definitely heard women say, I didn't find him attractive at first, but now I find him attractive. He's funny, he's entertaining, he's kind, yada, yada, yada. Men, it pretty much starts at beauty and it stops at kindness. And you can get into the whether a chick has a whole bunch of bodies or has a bad reputation. That's a factor as well, but starts at beauty and it ends it at kindness, because kindness is important for a woman to have because what type of mother is she going to be? Most men had decent mothers, and most men want that for their children, especially if they're thinking about starting a family. I think kindness is important for both genders, to take into consideration. But women have other criteria that they settle for and find attractive. Like example, if a man if a man is a provider, there's been many men throughout history that weren't the best looking men, but they could provide a whole hell of a lot, and women went for that. Men are less inclined to do that, if at all. I've painted this scenario of if a guy pulls up on Ocean Drive and pops his Lamborghini door open, the doors that go up, and he beeps his horn, he could stuff 3, 4 bitches in there. It's a 2-seater. He could stuff them in there, legs all over the dashboard. The girls are laughing. 3 girls. I've seen this. 3 girls in the front passenger seat sitting on top of each other. I have witnessed it. I have been there. Okay. So that's like a guy's fantasy. Women say, ew, patriarchy, disgusting. Okay, but women are more inclined to get in the passenger seat of a man's Lamborghini than for men to get in the passenger seat of a woman's Lamborghini. This is one of the issues that these women have with patriarchy, is because patriarchy, if a woman goes out there and accomplishes the same things that men accomplish, and this goes back to Ali Wong, the reward system is not there. And that's a part of the evil patriarchy, because the women don't get the same things. They don't get cheerleaders. They don't get, to be able to pull up in the Lambo, pop the door open, have a guy sit in the passenger seat, and then she gets to put her hand on his thigh. Okay? That they don't get that. And I'm wondering, like, how many of you all actually want that? Is that what you want? Do you want a man who's your cheerleader? Do you want to come home and a big strong mandingo is laying on the bed, in with rose petals on the bed, in a Speedo? Like I don't know what y'all want with the feminism and the role reversal. I'm trying to understand, how this is supposed to work. I'm not going to participate in anything like that. I'm not going to play that role, right? But just listening, right, to these feminist conversations, I'm trying to figure out how the infrastructure of society gets maintained. I'm trying to figure out, you know, how you prevent men revolting, because eventually men will get to a point where, I mean, you want to talk about real rape and pillage, let there be a critical mass of men that don't have access to women. It's the same thing with resources. I mean, you can't have a society or a system where you have the 1% of the society hoard all the resources. The masses will have heads on sticks. History has proven that. Anytime things get, a little bit too unfair, not even too unfair, grossly unfair, men will revolt, and they will revolt violently. That's what you're looking at. So, and we're pretty much on the cusp of that right now with the wealth inequality, the housing inequality, the food insecurity, and then, the sexual dating markets with, social media and basically a lot of people who are making all the money right now are people who engage in making money on social media. So now actually having real careers doesn't seem to be enough. You have to supplement it with your social media career, and then things get ruined because every woman that's above an 8 seemingly has a damn OnlyFans, or is trying to be an OnlyFans, or is trying to have some sort of thirst trap, feet pick, look at my feet type of situation going on where they can make some extra money. I mean, the whole thing is a mess. And then you're going to have people who jump up and they're going to say, oh, it's because people left Jesus. And that's why, right? And again, as I've stated before, none of the religious stuff doesn't hold water if you don't have the economic opportunities there. But again, the women, they want to fight a fight against the way that the economic opportunities were distributed, where men were the ones that left the house and basically brought home the bacon. Now women are saying that, they can bring home the bacon, and then they're not freaking hamstrung to men who have the potential to abuse bringing home the bacon, even though there were protections in place where, women would get half, and they divorce the man, which they still do now, which is one of the reasons why men don't want to get married today, because while women are running around saying, I make my own money, I got my own money, the courts are still acting like it's 1950, to where the man, in large part, can get financially ruined, in a divorce. Even though women are bragging about, oh, I got my own money, I'm strong and independent. But the minute that you get divorced, half, nigga, I'm taking half your shit, and it's like, why, if she can sustain herself, why does she have to take half, why does she have to take mine? Why is it all of a sudden like, it's like we got one toe in, progressivism, one toe in equality, and then we got the whole foot, in the 1950s, when it comes to all of the not only expectations but the responsibilities that fall on men in the event that the relationship fails. I think it was it James Sexton? Yeah, I think it was James Sexton who said at the end of the divorce lawyer, that one that was on Soft White Underbelly, where he was like, the the responsibilities that men have are enforceable by law, but the expectations placed on women are not enforceable by law. Meaning, when you're married, there's nothing that says that she has to be kind to you. There's nothing that says she has to, give you a blowjob or give you any, she can deny you sex. Now, some women will argue that in some state like Mississippi or something, there's some law that says you can't rape your wife. Okay, fine, right? Because obviously, if your wife doesn't want to have sex, it's not okay to forcibly extract sex from her, right? I get it, right? And all of that is a part of, the evil patriarchy, regardless of the fact of, how archaic people would men of today would look at that. No, it's not okay to rape your wife, right? Like that goes without saying. But again, feminists will, and I have to be careful because they'll come at me on being an African American. They'll say, well, you all bring up the past and what goes on in the past, right? So um like the fact that like there's still some Jim Crow laws, still on the books, right? And we cite that as, the system of white supremacy. So why can't a feminist cite why is this shit still on the books when they're talking about, the system of whatever, the system of patriarchy, right? So can't really run away from that. I'm like, nah, I don't know. Go ask some white men because black men, we definitely didn't put that on the books. So, please direct that to the group of men that it needs to be directed at. Don't lay that shit at our feet. This is the beauty of not being in a position of power, because when it comes to patriarchy, we're essentially just participants in it. We didn't make the laws. We didn't write the laws. And that's not some shit that we would put on the books. Can't put that shit on us, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying, I'll get into these argument with these white women in particular that'll try, they'll try to make these sort of statements, and white women get on my nerves with some of their shit because, like I don't like how white women will try to use women in third world countries. Like they'll try to bring up like the women have to wear the niqab in a Muslim country or something like that. And I'm like, bitch, you benefit from the wars that your men inflict on these other third world countries. You benefit from that. You know what I mean? You're probably filling up your gas tank right now with Iraqi oil. You know what I mean? So while you're sitting there talking about like you're trying to liberate all non-white women from the patriarchy, your patriarchy goes in and bombs the fuck out of their patriarchy. Like don't act like when white men bomb, some Afghani woman in an Afghan village that those Afghan women are not now oppressed, because they're suffering because they have to go without, their men. Right? Like, don't act like, you're not negatively affecting other women while you sit on your throne and eat grapes and reap the benefits of Western civilization that has come at the expense of third world countries. I just want to say that because these white women get on my fucking nerves with their self-righteous indignation. It's irritating. Right? They always try to act like they play no parts. You see this shit with the Trump shit as well. Right? What was it? What was it? It was the whatever the percentage of, let me pull it up. The percentage of white women. Hold on. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. What is this? Yeah, so 52% of white women voted for Trump and 59% of white men voted for Trump. Right? And yet you got all these white women crying online, talking about, and now they might be liberal women, that are crying. But you know what I don't like, when they want to talk about all this crazy shit that Trump is doing, what I don't like is, I'm like, you raise these men. Everything that you all want to say about white men, like, and I feel like the like, just on a side note, one of the things that irritates me about white women in this regard is like, you want to talk about the evil shit that white men do, right? But yet, like, where is the responsibility of the fact that white women are mothers to these men, right? The white boy goes and shoots up a school. Like, where the fuck is his mom at? You know what I mean? I want to talk to that bitch, right? Or when you get into, like, I don't know, that recent video I posted on my community tab where the guy's sitting there talking about the 14 words, that we will secure a future for our race and children and all that other shit. Where's his mom at? You know what I'm saying? Where's his mom at? There's a lot of talk about the patriarchy, but like, and I'm not saying all white women voted for Trump because they believed in all that shit, right? But again, white women voted for comfort. White women voted for the patriarchy that they claim. I mean, it's crazy. This is like worse than than the shit that Trump and Musk is doing. You know what I mean? Like they're firing people, they firing segments of the government, then find out that they oversee all the thermonuclear weapons and nuclear power plant shit. And I'm like, what are you doing? Then you got to bring them all back after you fired them because you didn't realize that this was attached to this. Like, it's just stupid. Personally, I do think that everything should be separate, and that's a whole nother conversation. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be these fucking omnibus pork barrel bills and shit where, you got like a freaking infrastructure bill mixed in with the Hughes Amendment, when it comes to machine guns, and you got, the Save the Whales and freaking, some budget for national forests. Like, why the fuck why don't you just vote on like one bill? Okay, do we yay or nay? Okay, boom, next bill. Yay or nay? Next bill. Yay or nay? No, like, it's all this like fucking just trying to sneak shit in and make shit as convoluted as possible. You got the farmers losing their ass right now because the freaking WIC and what's the other thing? SNAP and all that is tied into the farmers funding, and it's just stupid. But I'm just making the point to white women in particular. They're always bitching about the patriarchy. I'm like, look again, where are you all in unison voting against, this system of white male supremacy? Like, again, if white male supremacy benefits y'all ain't got shit to say. Y'all ain't got shit to say. I'm more inclined to listen to some of these non-black women complain about, what they're not receiving, because they don't receive as much as y'all receive, right? Because their men, are not the dominant force, on planet Earth, because they're either not as violent, or they don't have the weapons of mass destruction, in order to just annihilate whole groups of people. Right. But it always kills me at the way that white women birth white men and the savagery that white men engage in. And then white women try to act like they're the fucking moral compass of the world. Right. Isn't that very strange? Right. Right. You birth Satan and then you try to claim that you're angelic. Very strange. Right. Very, very bipolar situation here. Right. You birth these non-compassionate, what do you want to call it? Non-Christ-like individuals that got the audacity to sit there and hold up Christianity, like they're the torchbearers of it, and then they completely go against the teachings. It's very strange, very strange. But I just felt the need to call that out. Because much of what I'm saying was inspired by a very bitchy white feminist that wanted to give me all of the smoke. And as you can hear, I'm giving her all of the smoke right back. So I'm asking, how is this supposed to work? I don't see it working. I see everything collapsing. Okay, there's too many men, due to the system of capitalism, that women somehow magically think that they're going to be okay, but the men, they need to level up, they need to man up, they need to catch up, which again contradicts the whole idea of women having some sort of parity with men. And then you say men need to catch up to your level, but then you still engage in hypergamous dating practices. And then you have the aspect of like infrastructure, like who's maintaining that. I'm saying if we run this, we're just run it all the way out. Okay, 80% of women, 90% of women are getting with like 20% of dudes. Okay, and I'm saying ideally they want to get with like the 20%. We know that it's more like 40% because I think it's only like 40. What did the CDC report say? And this is of men of all racial groups. Let me go. CDC. PDF 179. Where are we at? Where are we at? Because it says it right on this page. Okay. Table 1 shows the percentage of men and women who have ever had a biological child by selected demographic characteristics in 2015 to 2019. 56.7% of women, all women, and 44.8% of men aged 15 to 49 have ever had, a biological child. A biological child. So that means, so if we had 10 men, since you can't have half a person, women would only want to get with 4 of them or procreate with 4 of them. That's the situation that we're dealing with now. And I think it's even worse than that. I think social media, like that's just what the overall average is. But if you dive into let me see. Yeah, if you dive into where things are projected, like it goes into that whole, if I say what percentage of black women are married to black men, it's 93%. That's the update from 2021, by the way. It's 93% of black women are married to black men, right? But if you look at the newlyweds, then it's 12% of newlywed black women are married outside the race. That's if you're looking at the people that got married that year. Those are the newlyweds. And then, black men, it's 24%. And I think it's 85% of black men marry black women, right? So, obviously, looking at where things are going arguably is more important than looking at, where things currently are at this moment, if you want to include everybody, because obviously, that 90-year-old black couple is not what people are talking about when they're talking about, current relationships. So I need to look at these numbers again. I'm going to add them. I'm going to do my own math and see if I get the same values. But yeah, I mean, these are just some of the questions I have. Like, where is this shit supposed to go? Because if you have a whole bunch of women getting with the unproductive men, like, in other words, and then I guess this is my bias as a man. If men are getting with beautiful women, but men are the ones that are productive, how much does that hurt? Right? Like, if a man gets with a dumb bimbo, if he gets with a dumb, not too bright woman, right? But she can at least raise the kids and all that good stuff, right? But he's providing. What does that hurt? Do the kids get moms, like, if she's not the sharpest tool in the drawer, does that mean that the kids come out not so smart? Probably, possibly, right? The apples don't fall far from the tree, right? We've all seen that, right? It's like, oh, she got dad's intelligence. Oh, she got mom's intelligence, or he got mom's intelligence, whatever, right? But when it comes to women, if women go out here and get with men that are not productive, but they look good, big dicks and swag, right? Then what does the society end up looking like? I guess there's this assumption. There seems to be like this lack of women like looking at it, the bigger picture, like, of society. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to use that to justify why women should just, should not get what they want, or they should like stay in their place and all that. I'm just saying, like, they don't think about that. They don't think about that. And they're not the gender that does all the building and the maintaining. The men are the ones that do that. So if you're not getting with productive individuals in your society or in your community, then how could you ever hope to have a community that produces, a safe and solid and secure environment for children to be raised in? If you're not getting with those individuals, right? But I guess women will say, well, why do women make the compromise? I would agree with you if women were the ones that were doing at least 50% of the building, but they don't. The men do all that stuff, and women are not lining up to do any of that type of work. Most of these women with these highfalutin degrees are in the service industry. They're not doing the hard sciences. They're most certainly not doing construction. They're not building, maintaining. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're doing, type of jobs where they use their cerebral abilities, maybe finance, business, journalism, these sort of, isms, the humanities, which again, I'm not here to diminish or downplay, the importance of those, but those type of careers are built on the foundations that men lay. Men lay the foundations first, and then when it comes to all the other ancillary, degrees and professions and everything, then you get all of that. It's like when you're playing SimCity, what is the first structure that you have to build when you play SimCity? I don't care what SimCity it is. You have to build what? The power plant first. Power plant has to come first. Because if you have no power, you can't do anything. So, when it comes to, women and their careers and the things that they want to do, I'm like, if the men that you're getting with either can't build the infrastructure, maintain the infrastructure, or if they're threatened by another male group, defend the infrastructure, you're done. You're toast. You're toast. I think that there's a lot of aspects where people have gotten completely complicit and comfortable with mainstream society, not mainstream society, modern day society, where they just assume, that the strawberries from Chile will just show up on, and they'll just be there, right? They just assume that they'll be there, and they'll be available to them. And I'm like, not if the, you know, the transport of goods, comes to a screeching halt. I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know what women's thoughts are on this, but I'm like, do you all even think about, what happens if all of that comes to a screeching halt? I don't know. And I think for men knew that like women, that you got to be good looking and you got to work out and you got to be fit and have muscles. Men see the way that women swoon over, freaking, who I don't know, freaking Idris Elba, freaking Chris Hemsworth, Jason Momoa, right? Like we men see that, right? Morris Chestnut, right? We see all that. Right? It's not like men don't understand what a good-looking man wants, and that's the gentleman that men want to, aspire to, right? But damn, what was I gonna say? There was something I was gonna say about men have always had this kind of expectation or thought that they've had to come with other things and that women value these other things and they didn't have too much of an issue with playing the role that men expect women to play. Right? Like we understand that women, they want the guy in the winner's circle. They want the guy that has stability. They want the guy, that has something to offer, right? That it's not just all about who's the best looking, and I guess men have taken for granted the idea that men have been allowed to be shallow like that. But men are allowed to be shallow like that because of the expectations placed on men that they were the ones paying the way. They were the ones that were expected to come up off their resources, to provide, for the woman. And then the woman took that into consideration, right? She would gauge whether she was attracted to you or not. But then there were other things that you could performatively do as a man that would make the woman further attracted to you. Now women are saying that the performative things that a man can do, they don't need that, but they only want it if the man is just so exceedingly blowing them out the water that they know that they can't compete with him and his Bugatti, right? So if he's got a Bugatti, you know what I mean, then they know that they can't compete with that, and they then you know then they start talking about, okay, I'll be a dainty traditional woman or whatever, but I'm not going to do that for the regular degulars. And I'm like, okay, if the vast majority of men are regular degulars, I'm like, well, what does this mean for society? Maybe women don't care. Maybe they're going to say, we don't care. And I'm like, okay, you don't care. And, society is going to crumble and it's going to collapse. And sooner or later, you're going to have a freaking gun in your face, from all these disaffected young men that are out here, and there's no economic opportunities and whatnot because all the women went and got with big dicks and swag, and now there's no future economic opportunities for all the children, that are being born. I mean, this is one of the problems that exists in the black community, where you have, I like how somebody said it on Dr. T. Hassan Johnson's channel, which is, first off, the black community would have been imploded if it wasn't for extra tribal resources. There's a lot of bullshit that goes on in the black community in particular because of extra tribal resources. What are extra tribal resources? Extra tribal resources are the resources that black women are able to get from white zaddy, get from the government, and these resources are, can easily be used to undermine, black men. And this goes to the brothers that like to run around and say that you can't have a patriarchy inside another man's patriarchy, which the idea would mean that we would all have to leave and go back to Africa and then form some nation in Africa, to where we can operate independently without extra tribal resources coming through and interfering. Another example of extra tribal resources would probably be like what you saw with Shaq a couple years ago when talking about his daughters. And what did he bring up? He brought up the point of, he said something about his sons and how he's not going to do X, Y, and Z for his sons. With his daughter, he's going to do X, Y, and Z for. But the problem is if their daughters go out there and meet somebody and they're dating somebody, imagine being that husband, right? You're trying to provide, you're doing the right thing, you got a decent career, but you're not going to be able to compete with Grandpa Shaq. Right? You know what I mean? He can come in at you get in an argument with your wife. No, we're not going to do that. I don't agree. Yada, yada, yada. Right. And you basically shut it down. Right. And then she goes to her dad, gets the extra tribal resources, or not extra tribal, but extra paternal resources, and then just overrides you. Like, how long is that relationship going to last? Where she can just at any moment I'll just go ask my daddy, right? I always wonder how those type of relationships work when you're not on par. And I guess nobody really is, because here you have a man that has decades on you in terms of being able to establish himself, but what do you do when you have a paternal father figure, of your wife's mother, that literally interferes with your decisions with his resources? That's another thing that doesn't get discussed, enough. I mean, you go over to Michael Bloomberg, one of his in-laws changed his name to Bloomberg, right? How do you argue with that? I want my last name to go on. Like, who the fuck are you? When Michael Bloomberg has a net worth of, I forget what his net worth is. What's his net worth? Last time I checked, it was 65 billion. I think it might be like 100 billion. Bloomberg net worth $104 billion. $104 billion. Again, let me put it in billion into context. If you had 999 million and then added another million, that's $1 billion. So now do 999 million times 100, no, times another, what would that be? Another, no, you'd have to add what would you have to add? You'd have to add the 1 million each time. Anyway, we'll just go with the another 100 times plus, what would that be? Another 100 million, right? $999 million times 100, right? Times 100 times another 100 million, something like that, right? That's a lot of damn money. Damn. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what you would do in a situation like that. You know, you're gonna take my last name. Why should I take your last name? Because I got a $104 billion that says otherwise. Like, how do you argue with that shit? Yeah, but I mean, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel in regards to this situation. Because it's just too out of whack. And again, I think that water will find its own level. Meaning that Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck, about how you get there. All the morality from the church and religion and rules and regulation doesn't matter. I mean, this goes back to the white guy I always tell you all about, the one that said the black men are cheating the system. Right? What does it matter? So what if black men are selling drugs, or so what if black men are out here in the streets being swagnificent and fucking multiple baby mamas and whatnot, which, again, we already know that only 46% of black men are fathers. But I'm saying for the black men, the minority of black men that are really reckless with it, their genes are going forward. Their genes are going off into perpetuity. Right? When they die, the essence of them will still be here. I mean, this is kind of like the basis of the movie Idiocracy, right? That all the wrong people are the people that are, reproducing. But then again, Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck about how smart you are and how brainiac you are. Oh, well, you just couldn't cut it because the nature of women and the nature of reproduction and the environment and such. The men that are reproducing, say what you want about them, they're adaptable and they're able to navigate. And so what if they lie? They got the bitch pregnant. The women are giving them immortality and their genes are going forward. And I mean, what can you say to that? You're going to die and you have no heirs and their genes get to go forward. What do you get to say to that? Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck. Survival of the fittest, bitch. Right? That's how it works. Right? Doesn't matter. Oh, they can't do calculus. So the fuck what? Who cares? Their genes go forward. They don't know how to use AI. So what? Who cares? Their genes go forward. They can't read. They read at a third grade level. Who cares? So what? Their genes go forward. They're not productive. They're lazy. All they want to do is sit around and play Xbox all day. Who cares? Their genes go forward. You see? And then, obviously you can't maintain an advanced civilization like that. What happens to the society? I guess nobody cares. I guess it's, that's not what's matter. That's not important. I guess. And this rolls right into why, you see the people on the far right doing everything in their power trying to control white women's reproduction because they think that women are fucking idiots and they can't make choices for themselves because society will collapse if you let women just go off and, have control of sexual romantic autonomy. So they're like, we must control these women's reproduction and who they have access to and who they can and cannot get with. Right? I'm guessing how that's working. I mean, it's I get why feminists are pissed off at the how dare you, how dare you? Yeah, I get it. I get it. But again, Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck about what you want. If the men are powerful enough to force you in any situation they want to force you in, they can do it. What are you going to do to stop them? How you gonna stop them? You know, I've said before, women are powerless because if men really wanted to show their ass, if men as a collective, wanted to, or men from whatever particular group wanted to really show their ass, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking Japan, Nanking Massacre style, like literally do what the fuck they want to do. They could. It's already been done in history. It's already been done in history. Like rights that women have today, oh, they could easily be revoked by force. You know, so it's kind of I kind of look at women sideways because, and I know they don't think this far, but I'm kind of like, you have a lot of freedoms now, and it's based off of there being some sort of societal balance. But again, who's going to make that sacrifice? Everybody's fighting for the best position to get the top dog, right? But I'm saying, because there's some balance out here, right? The idea is that, modern society can move forward. But then the weird thing is, as modern society advances, modern society makes it to where nobody needs each other, right? That's kind of like the like, two steps forward, two steps back type of thing, right? Like when I mean, what happens when everybody's sitting around again? Like, it's like, think of reproduction in heaven, where you're sitting around and everything is taken care of, like, what do you need the different sexes for in heaven, right? I mean, what's why would there be any differences? And I always bring up the heaven scenario because that's the only place where idealism would actually work. You see what I'm saying? Like it's the only place where it would actually work because you've removed all of the needs. You've removed all of the aspects of being dependent on one another. So everybody can just sit up in heaven and be like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I don't need you, fuck you, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, so, so at that point, then you get the purest form of why people are interacting with one another, because they like each other or they want to interact with each other. It's not a need. It's not on the basis of need. So I guess this is us being bound by our human existence of having to deal with and interact with one another and need each other, and all those sorts of dynamics, even dynamics of manipulation and using people to our individual benefit. I'm just saying, people talk about God a lot, but God really set up a real fucked up and funky ass world. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's so evil, and animals have feelings too, but yet we eat animals because that's a part of our substance. Well, I believe in being fucking vegan, so I don't have to eat animals. Yeah, but you become freaking vitamin B12 deficient, if you don't eat fucking animals. You need some cobalamin in your system. You know what I mean? So, like, it's like you're not meant to be a fucking herbivore either. You're an omnivore. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you just start walking through all of it, and it's just like, survival is key. It's all about survival. Survival does not care how you get there, right? So, everybody's just kind of out for themselves. And I'm like, I'm like, I get it, but I don't know how you get a functioning society out of that. I mean, this goes back to the statement that women are, the currency used to keep men productive. And I have not been able to get away from that statement. It's spot on. That the oligarchs, in the system of capitalism or feudalism or whatever other isms, that there are, I'm saying, the landowner or whoever was like, yeah, if you go out there and you work for me and you get to be productive, I'm going to give you a few shillings that you will be able to take back and offer a milady and say, hey, will you date me? She says no. Hey, will you date me? And she says no. And then you throw up some shillings and then she's like, oh, okay, fine. Right? But now that women can get their own resources, it's not that way anymore. I mean, they've done this study with monkeys where they gave the monkeys like these wooden coins, in order to get food and shit like that for doing certain things. And then, slowly but surely, the monkeys started using the wooden coins for sex. So the female monkeys, who wanted the grapes, they would start taking the wooden coins and like, all right, how many coins you got? If you give me some coins, I'll let you tap that. Right. So even the monkeys started engaging in prostitution because the female monkeys, go on YouTube, pull it up, you'll find it. I'm not making it up. The female monkeys started engaging in prostitution. I don't know if it was wooden coins, but it was coins. And they used the coins, and the male monkeys was like, wait a minute. You mean I can get some pussy instead of these damn grapes? I mean, grapes are great, but I'm saying, yeah, hey, let me go try this. Hey, I'll give you these coins. You know what I'm saying? You toot that thing up, and the next thing you know, that's what the monkeys were doing. So, this is one of the reasons why when people start talking about God and religion and, it was all put there to prevent us from acting like complete heathens and everything. But I'm like, but this is the baseline. This is the baseline. I get irritated with this idea of a God that's like, look, but don't touch. Touch but don't taste but don't swallow. Like I can't stand. What type of torturous God is that? You know. These are man-made rules because even man recognize that if you're going to have a functioning society, you have to have, certain rules in place. And it's much easier to get people to believe in a higher power and hellfire and Dante's Inferno and all that other shit if they do the wrong thing. It's easier to do that than to constantly police them 24/7, like they're fucking in the Matrix being chased around by Agent Smith, right? So I don't know what the answer is. I think that, we're kind of at that point. I label it akin to rampancy in the Halo universe, and I've talked about this before. Rampancy in the Halo universe is when the AI construct basically thinks itself to death. It becomes self-aware and it has overload of information, but it starts to, questions its existence. It starts, feeling jealous of humans because humans have a physical form and the AI doesn't have a physical form. And then, it starts seeing itself as more powerful because it's more knowledgeable than humans. And it basically thinks itself to death and becomes dangerous to the point because it starts turning into, how open the pod pay doors. I'm sorry, I can't do that, Dave. You know what I'm saying? That runaway AI rogue shit. Yeah, that's what happens, right? So, we've talked about this in Hollywood, and I hate how I can hear this thing through the wall. But in any event, I'm saying the rogue AI, goes off, and then, obviously it's a threat to humanity, so then they got to shut it down. So this happens on time schedule of about 7 years. And so, I look at society like the story or the idea or concept of rampancy in the Halo universe. I feel like modern civilization is at the point of rampancy where, there's just so many options, or the perception of options, and there's just so much access to everything and information and whatnot that, people, they're just overwhelmed with choice. And the more choices they have, or the perception of choices they have, the more, the more stagnant, this is the word stagnant that I'm looking for, the more they can't make a choice, because they always think that there's a better option, around the corner. And then you have people that just begin to question everything, right? Like the feminists, they'll question, well, why, how come he gets to do that? How come why should I be following him? Why this? Why that? Right? And they kind of like, the only issue I have with a lot of the feminists is they overlook some of the most blatant and obvious reasons why men are in those positions, or some of the drawbacks or the downsides, the negatives that men have to engage in, like the whole women and children first, or things like, men having to, sign up for, what is it? Is it the, not civil service, sign up for the draft, those sorts of things, being a disposable male. Women don't have to, there's no such concept of women being disposable females, but they don't even take the time to look at these things. They just assume that all men, operate in patriarchal privilege, right? Completely overlooking class differences when it comes to men, only seeing class differences when it comes to women. Just a lot of stuff that they just overlook, and it's very irritating in having discussions with women because of that. Because as a man, I can sit there and the woman mentions something. Okay, I see where you're coming from. I get that. That makes total sense. But there's so many women, they don't do that. They don't extend that same courtesy to men. When men are discussing things, and it's like, they're just and the patriarchy, and y'all are evil. Like we did not wake up in the morning. We were like, oh, what way can I oppress women today? Like, no, the men don't wake up saying that. When men wake up saying, what do I have to do to fucking impress a woman so that I can get some fucking affection, so that I can get, I want to be desired, I want to be in a relationship, right? Men have to perform. Women, on the other hand, if a woman is just blessed with looks, right, or again, youth and beauty, you know what I mean? Go talk to an older woman about the attention that she no longer gets in comparison to a woman who's in her early 20s. You see? And again, women, because, there's not a lot of, doesn't seem to be a lot of wisdom conversation surrounding women. They just kind of moan when they get to the, they hit the wall or whatever, or they're way past their prime. It doesn't seem like there's an honest conversation about how women have intrinsic value, and they don't have to earn it, they just have it, and then when it's gone, it's gone. Where with men have to earn their position. They have to earn their position with other men. They have to earn their position in order to be recognized by women. They have to earn their position. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of men have a hard time respecting, women across the board in any sort of, equal manner, because men in large part have to earn their position. Women don't. And if women go out there and they engage in their career and stuff like that, men can respect that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to want you if you're out there, competing with the boys. But anyway, this thing is getting way too loud. It's irritating me. So I'm going to end this video. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.
Move. Hold on. Yeah. Hello? Where we at? Oh, you want to know where I'm at? We outside!